Hope for the best. That's probably a piece of advice that you've heard before, perhaps before an exam or a big test, or before you embarked on a challenge. It's also advice that we often get when we are down and out or when the future looks uncertain. But you know what? It's only half the advice that you should have got. And what's the other half? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hello and welcome to another edition of Chai with Pi, our weekly series of videos where we try and share simple stories and lessons that can help each of us become as good as we can be. Remember Michael Phelps? Yep. He's that swimmer who's probably broken every record there was, and he's also won more medals in the Olympic Games than any other athlete. 28 medals, 23 of them gold. There's an interesting story about Michael Phelps and the 200-meter butterfly event at the Beijing Olympic Games. If you haven't heard that story, you must. Phelps was in line for his fourth medal of the Beijing Olympics, and it was the 200-meter butterfly event, and all was set, and he stood out there waiting for the gunshot so he could dive into the pool. And as the shot went off and Phelps dived, something happened. He felt a strange sense of water getting into his goggles, and he couldn't see a thing. So clearly water had gone into his goggles, and even as the instinct for him was to try and adjust those goggles, he knew that if he tried to do that, he would break the butterfly stroke and would be immediately disqualified. So he didn't do that. What he did was, despite the water in his eyes, despite not being able to see anything, he just remembered the number of strokes he knew he needed to get to the other end and back. And he just kept counting 3, 4, 5, 6. And he knew when to take that turn and when to head back. He completed the race, and guess what? He won the gold. I think it's an interesting story which tells you that, like every athlete, it's a good idea to hope for the best, but it's an even better idea to prepare for the worst. And what Phelps did was actually prepare for events, for eventualities like this one. So as a young swimmer under Bob Bowman, he would often try and recreate or simulate situations where things went wrong. And he'd often try this event of saying that, hey, suppose I couldn't see anything, what would I do? And he knew how many strokes it would take him to get to one end and then back. And that practice, that preparation for the worst actually helped him to win a gold. I think it's something that we can all learn from. I know great organizations do this all the time, and I knew at least one business where the idea of simulating war games and trying to say, what could my competitor do? What's the craziest thing that my competitor could do? What else could he do to disrupt this market? Looking at these scenarios, preparing for these scenarios can help you when it actually comes true. It may be an event of a very low probability, but because you were prepared for it, it helped. So as you look at your own future, and as you look at overcoming, all the adversity and the challenges that you might be facing today, good idea to not just hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Think of those obstacles, think of those challenges, think of those mistakes that you could make, and then try and ask yourself, what can I do to get it right? Do that, and you will discover that, like Phelps, you'll be on a winning streak where no one can stop you. So remember this, hope for the best, and yes, prepare for the worst. That's all in this week's edition of Chai with Pi. If you like it, do remember to share this video, and of course, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, enjoy your chai.